wanted to bring out on this episode, Shane, what I've been teasing. We'll throw up the graphic here if you're watching. We put it all over the social medias here on Monday, looking for everybody else to contribute as well. But we are doing an SEC fantasy draft, kind of like, we didn't invent this idea. I've seen it before. I just not seen it this off season. And basically what you're trying to do, Shane, is you're trying to pick the best, the way I look at it, the most unstoppable team here. You got to pick a quarterback, 2 receivers, a running back, and a tight end. And you got $15 to spend. Again, you got to pick 5 players, and you tier them. So the best players, they cost $5. So you just can't load up on top of the line players. Otherwise, you're gonna go over your salary cap, if that makes sense. So we've tiered this $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. Does that all make sense to you, Shane?
Oh yeah, perfect sense. And for the listeners, we're gonna break this down one tier at a time, or
I was thinking I think we should do it by position first. So we'll go over the 5 quarterbacks that we have selected to put on this list, and then each of us will give out our selection for the quarterbacks, and we'll move on to each position, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's going to be a little controversy. I can already hear it, Mike, because there was already controversy when you sent this list over to me at first. I said, hey, where's my boy at? And we had to switch some things around. But there's going to be some quarterbacks left off, and that kind of surprises me because you don't think about this being a deep quarterback league. I don't know about you personally, but the more that I look at it, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, why aren't we including this guy? So I'm liking this quarterback talent we got in this SEC year.
So let's start with the $5 guy, Shane. And again, this means in this game, most valuable quarterback here, the $5 man. Easy decision. Bryce Young just won the Heisman Trophy, just led Alabama to the SEC title. In an upset of Georgia, was the first quarterback to really have his way. Well, the only quarterback that had his way with the Georgia defense last season, and now he's the big time. I don't know if he's the favorite to win the Heisman again, but I think he's number 2 right now. But easy to say Bryce Young, the most valuable quarterback in the SEC, right?
Absolutely. I'm surprised you don't have him at $6. I think he's. I'm not saying that there's a 1A, 1B situation because there's not. I really think it's Bryce is in a tier of his own right now. Now that may change at the end of the season, but starting the season, I think you nailed this one.
All right, and then for the $4 quarterback, Shane, you could you could certainly have some arguments starting here, but I'm going with Hendo Cinco, Shane, Hendon Hooker, Tennessee Vols, poised to have a huge season, in my opinion, for Josh Heupel's Tennessee Vols. Do you buy that as the $4 quarterback?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The development he had toward the tail end of the season, and then you factor he's got a full off season here. This is his year, and you see that in a lot of these NFL mocks. This is a win-win situation for him. So if he can come out and perform like he did last year, or even get better, then he's definitely a $4 quarterback here.
Now the $3 man, this is my guy right here, Shane. One of my favorites, KJ Jefferson, Arkansas Razorbacks. He can do it with his arm. He can do it with his legs. He's like a tank back there when he's running the ball. So the ultimate dual threat quarterback. You like him at the $3 option?
I do, and I think it's a really, really good value, and was on my team several times during this thing, so I'll let you know if he's on my final team here in a little bit.
Now, the $2 man, again, this is when we started to have our disagreements.
Here's the controversy coming in.
I love this guy. I think he's going to just put up incredible numbers this season, and I'm talking Will Rogers, Mississippi State. He's probably, of the ones we went down so far, the least mobile option by far,
right.
But just playing in this offense, man, he's suited for it. He was catching fire at the tail end of the season. I think he's going to light it up, like I said, playing for Mike Leach.
Yeah, I think this is a breakout year for him. I'm not saying that last year wasn't, but not a lot of people are talking about Rodgers right now, myself included. In fact, he was one I was like wondering why we had him on the list because of some other guys. But you know, the more you talk him up, the more we're going to see from him this year. I think again Mississippi State has a pretty good season here, and that's because they're going to have a hell of an arm back there at quarterback.
Now here, I tried to talk Shane into the reigning national champion, Stetson Bennett, but he's not on our list. The defending national champion. You can thank Shane for that. I mean, my goodness, people think I already hate the Bulldogs enough, Shane. Now we booted Stetson off the list, but the $1 quarterback, maybe the best value on the board here, Will Levis, Kentucky Wildcats. Apparently, he's the greatest quarterback that's ever played college football, Shane. He's the number one overall pick, according to CBS Sports. But we've got him as the $1 man here. And, I think the best case you made, Shane, for me, when you said this, I was like, he's absolutely right. Put Will Levis on the Georgia Bulldogs. Would Georgia make that swap? And I hate to say it, but I think they would. So Will Levis makes sense to me. What are your thoughts on having him on this list?
Well, I fought for his life to get him on this thing, and honestly, I thought he would be like a $2, possibly a $3 quarterback here. You read some of these NFL mocks, they got him all the way up there with Bryce, you know what I'm saying? But I don't know if we're quite there yet, but I think he's got to be on the list. But let me ask you, Mike, because this is probably going to be the biggest topic when this thing hits about my quarterback getting left out. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some big names. You look down there in Florida in AR-15, obviously not a great season last year, but they're expecting a better season this year. You look at South Carolina. I mean, is there any other names that you thought about floating on this list again?
Yeah, definitely Spencer Rattler. That's one that jumps out to me. I do think he's poised to have a hell of a year for the South Carolina Gamecocks, but I kind of, and fair or unfair, Shane, I kind of looked at his selection and just said, well, he hasn't done it in the SEC yet.
Right.
And that's not to say that I don't think he's got the potential. Hell, I've been singing his praises all off season. But I just kind of went more with the guys that we've seen. And like I said, I wanted to put Stetson on this list just for the fact that, he just won the title. I think he deserves some recognition. But at the end of the day, we're just loaded at quarterbacks here. So South Carolina fans, Georgia fans, I think you make a case. Anthony Richardson, certainly, I think this is going to be one, I think, where Florida fans, they always see these things and they're like, oh, I'm saving this tweet. I'm saving this. I'm going to throw this in your damn face in December when AR-15 scores 45 touchdowns. So, we could put him on the list too, but basically the same thing with Spencer Rattler, a little different, but he's not really done it in the SEC yet. He's done it in the non-conference. I'm not saying Anthony Richardson is not going to have a huge year here, but certainly he deserves recognition. A&M's got a couple options, but, we don't even know who's going to start for them at this point in time. We've got a couple transfers, looking at you, LSU, looking at you, Ole Miss, some potential there. But again, until we see it, these are the five I feel most comfortable with.
Okay. Well, this is SEC Mike's list, so who might argue,
So who's your quarterback, Shane? People dying to know.
Oh, Mike, this one I went round and round, and I love my boy Hooker. I love Bryce, but I just think, like you said, it's such a deep quarterback room this year. It's tough for me to spend a lot of money on QB, and then part of me is like, here I was waving the Will Levis flag. I got to get him on the board, and if I don't pick him, Mike's just going to make fun of me, because there for a long time I was settled in at KJ Jefferson. I just thought he was such a great value there with $3. Just what he's been able to do the last 3 years. I'm telling you, especially last year, it was night and day. And another off season, I'm telling you, this kid's truly special. But I need other positions, and I need to spend some money, and we're going to get to those. So I'm thinking greatest value on the board right now, NFL legend, Pro Bowl, probably going to have a Hall of Fame at some point. Will Levis, I got to go with him with $1. And the reason is he does have, he has it, man. I mean, he's a big quarterback. He's surprisingly mobile. He's one of the that's one of the factors that a lot of people don't talk about. You know, you talk about an AR-15, you talk about a KJ Jefferson, you talk about a hooker. You're talking about legs and mobility, but you know, you're looking over here at Will Levis. Hell, he had 9 rushing TDs last year. Mm-hmm. So I think what he's got with his arm, he's also got with his legs, and I just think that it's truly a great value. He has all, you know, and this is no knock on Wan'Dale Robinson, but that was it, man. That's all he had last year. So on my team, I got 2 stud receivers that I'm saving to put on this roster, and I think that's going to help Will Levis shine. So give me Will with $1. Who do you got?
Yeah, that may be the best value pick on the board, Shane, when I'm looking at the $1 option. So that could be a hell of a pick. I'm glad you went with Will Levis, because it would have been kind of cheesy if we picked the same guy. I'm going KJ Jefferson. You already know, man. A lot of the same things. I mean, Hendon Hooker. I love Hendon Hooker. Bryce Young. What's not to like? But I think KJ Jefferson gives you a lot of what those guys can give you too. Right. I love the mobility. I think of this list, I think he's the most mobile, and he's got that deep ball in his back pocket. Mm-hmm. So he's a leader. He's tough as hell. Give me KJ Jefferson. I'll go to battle with him anytime.
And I'm not going to argue. Like I said, that's who I had on this list for several days now. I just the efficiency pickup. I mean, he's almost completing 70% of his passes, and just the rushing aspect, because he's not just a mobile quarterback. He's a big-bodied quarterback that always seems to fall forward, and that's what I like leading my team. So I need those $2, Mike. So I'm sticking with Will, but I'm not going to be mad with the KJ Jefferson selection.
All right, Shane, let's get into the receivers. Now, again, remember, there's 2 for each category because we're picking 2 receivers. Mm-hmm. So we got 2 $5 options here for SEC receivers. And the list starts with Keyshawn Boutte down there in LSU. Mm-hmm. Such a dynamic playmaker there for the LSU Tigers. And the other $5 option, Shane, Cedric Tillman, breakout star for the Tennessee Vols. And not only did he put up huge numbers last season, Shane, he did it against Alabama, Georgia, Purdue in the bowl game. I mean, he made the plays when the Vols needed him in the marquee game. So I think Cedric Tillman is, he should be all SEC, if not all American, heading into the season. So those are our 2 $5 guys. $4, this might surprise you, Shane. I put Jermaine Burton, Georgia transfer.
What?
Of course, now at Alabama, he's slotted to be Bryce Young's number 1 option there in Tuscaloosa. So I think Jermaine Burton, if he can stay healthy, he's going to have a huge year for the Crimson Tide. He's a $4 selection. And then Jimbo was just singing this guy's praise, said he's going to boost his stock this year for coming back. Ainias Smith, Texas A&M's do-everything receiver, sometimes lines up in the backfield, but now primarily a receiver, return man. He can do it all. Agent Zero there in College Station, one of the best players in the SEC. Now the $3 receiver, Shane, hey, same team here, but these guys are so productive. They're playing in a system that all they do is throw the ball. So these guys are going to put up huge numbers this season. Jaden Walley, Mississippi State's number 1 outside receiver. And then Austin Williams, their go-to man in the slot. Whenever Will Rogers needs a third down conversion, he's looking at Austin Williams. So those 2, I don't think are going to be on many people's radars, but tremendous value there. I listed each of them at the $3 selection. Now here's the ultimate boom or bust, Shane. I went with 2 freshmen as the $2 options. We've got Luther Burden. Everyone's dying to see what he can do for the Missouri Tigers, the true freshman. And then we got Evan Stewart, the true freshman from Texas A&M that was named offensive MVP, not of the spring game. People get confused, but of spring camp. His first spring on campus, Shane. He's already been named offensive MVP. He could have a huge year for them Aggies that are dying for a number 1 receiver to emerge. And then again, we got some real value here at the $1 option, Shane. I got Josh Vann, South Carolina's outstanding receiver. And the young bulldog down there, Shane, A.D. Mitchell, came on strong as arguably the best receiver I'm not counting Brock Bowers, of course, but maybe the best receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs national championship team would after George Pickens was limited. So some really good value there at the number $1 options. Who are the 2 receivers you're rolling with, Shane?
This was probably the toughest one, Mike, because not because the talent, because obviously I think there's not a bad selection on here. I mean, obviously I'm a little leery of freshmen that haven't proved it. Yeah. So I got to steer clear of that. I'd rather take somebody that's been in it for a little bit. I did like the Van. I was thinking maybe that's good value there. But, Mike, as I look at this and as everybody's looking at this chart, I think the SEC's loaded with quarterbacks, running backs, and tight ends. And I think it's a little bit of a down year for the receivers. Now, I may be wrong. Again, we're 100 days out from college football. We may be looking back. You may save this pod and say Shane is a bumbling idiot. But I think if you're going to spend some money, this is where you're doing it. And so obviously I had to forfeit some money in these later picks. But, brother, give me the top 2. Give me Cedric Tillman. Give me Keyshawn Boutte. And the reason I like these guys, for starters, Cedric Tillman's probably my favorite. If not the favorite, he's right there at the top football player in college football right now. Obviously, I'm a huge Tennessee homer. But, this is a big-bodied receiver. And I think that bodes well with a quarterback. Sometimes you just need to throw up a prayer. And more times than not, Cedric comes down with the ball. You saw, like you said, you mentioned Alabama. You mentioned some of these big games where he really came out. So I think that's my first pick. That's a $5 pick. It's a bold pick. But the other one is Keyshawn. I think here's a guy, if he wasn't hurt last year, man, we're talking about him as the best receiver last year. I think he had a good shot. He was LSU's offense for several weeks, it felt like. So I think a healthy Boutte and a Cedric Tillman, just that senior presence. We got a big bodied receiver. I just think this is where I need to spend my money. So I'm going $10 on my receivers here.
Man, that's a little rich for my blood, Shane. But
tell me why I'm wrong, Mike. Tell me why I'm wrong.
And I'll tell you why I really hate it, Shane, because you got one of my guys here. Keyshawn Boutte, agree with everything you just said. We don't even know who his quarterback's going to be this year. Don't even know. Brian Kelly may boot this guy from the team. He's Boutte. They may boot him off. Let's hope like hell that doesn't happen. I'm just kind of kidding. I've not heard that he's going to get dismissed or anything. But, All-American. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a player that, may be unrealistic to think about this, Shane, but a player that could win the Heisman like out of nowhere. I'm looking at a guy like Keyshawn Boutte, just so electric, the football in his hands. He was limited last season, still put up huge numbers. And I even go back to 2020 when, breakout star, when they started to get momentum late in the season, it was because Boutte to Max Johnson became such just a hot connection there for them LSU Tigers. So I got to go Boutte as well, but I'm saving my money, not going all out like Shane. I'm going a little bit on the cheaper. I'm going boom or bust here, Shane, and I really wanted to go with one of these freshman receivers. Could not argue with Luther Burden down there at $2, but I'm going Evan Stewart, Shane, the Aggie freshman, just for the simple reason that I think Texas A&M is much more settled at the quarterback position, which is going to lead to Evan Stewart being a more productive player. Now, I could be dead wrong because Luther Burden, I think, is completely legit. If Mizzou was just more settled at that position, no hesitation, I would have went with Luther Burden. But I think they're both going to have big years. So I'm going Evan Stewart, the freshman, Keyshawn Boutte, $7 total on my receivers.
Yeah, and the reason it was tough is because I was trying to figure out if I wanted to save some money on some of these other positions, and like I said, there was a couple names that I was like, when this list came out, I was like, I'm absolutely going to have this guy, gotta have him. But then when I started running out of money, I was like, well, shit, I can't afford that guy, and the reason I'm just Boutte and Tillman, the reason I like these guys so much is they have taken games over. And, imagine having both of them on the field at the same time with Will Levis throwing the ball. Oh, my gosh. I'm telling you, they're going to be hanging banners there. So I just think this is a smart bet. Get proven people. Don't take the risky bets here.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to the running back, Shane. You're down to $4. I got $5 in my back pocket, but so we know you can't take Chris Rodriguez. That's who I've got as my $5 option. I don't even know if he's a wanted man or not at this current moment. I don't know if you saw that news, Shane.
Yeah, I did. I was going to say the only person taking him is the officers in custody when they see him next time. So. No, I'm sure there was a misunderstanding, and we'll get that taken care of. But man, we can't have that up there in Lexington.
Now, $4 running back, Shane. This may be a surprise to some people because there's a hell of a lot of good backs in the SEC. Yeah. But I think Jamir Gibbs, the Alabama transfer from Georgia Tech, this is going to be the next where it's like, oh my God, how does Alabama keep getting all these guys, via the transfer portal? Kind of like Jamison Williams. Who was singing his praises at this point in time last year? Hardly anybody. Now went on to a first-round draft pick. So I think Jamir Gibbs could explode for the Crimson Tide. He's our $4 running back. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's risky. To play for Georgia Tech, and then, obviously he's going to be productive because he's in Alabama uniform now. And, you know what I'm saying? He's got 5 stars all around him, especially up front, making holes for him. So I think you're a little high on this one. So that's why I'm not touching on. It's not that I don't think he's a good athlete, because what I like about Gibbs especially is he's a dual threat. You know what I'm saying? He can come out of the backfield. He can run. He can do anything. He's like a Swiss Army knife back there. So I like that, but it's just too rich for my blood. Obviously, I'm out of money, but I was looking at all of this prior to. I didn't just say, okay, I want to waste all my money on receivers. I didn't see the value at $4. Now, I may be wrong, and that's the thing. You're going to look back and you're going to see great stats from him. So I don't know what my idea when I'm piecing together this team is not like fantasy football. Not like what do I think their stats are going to be at the end of the year or anything like that. It's like me going out here and we're playing dodgeball and you're picking a team, I'm picking a team.
Right.
That's my quarterback. That's my running back. And I think my team could beat your team. That's the approach I have at this.
Right.
And I think Gibbs is a hell of an athlete. There's a reason that he's in Tuscaloosa right now. I just don't think he's a $4 athlete.
I gotcha. All right. How about the $3, Shane?
Oh, here we go.
Tank Bigsby, the man down there on the plains. Yeah. And yeah, I see what you're saying. That was a struggle for me, Gibbs or Tank. You could certainly make the case for either or, and kind of going to what you're referencing. Tank, he may not put up the numbers even that Gibbs had because of, his supporting cast there on the plains. But, that's a hell of an option there at the $3. I'm almost like switching my list as we're going down it here.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is one of my guys. I saw it, man. I saw value. $3, Tank. Oh, yeah. He was on my roster many, many times. But I'll tell you what it came down to wasn't the running back, was the wide receivers again. I was looking at Burton, and I'm like, here's a guy, that obviously I think is going to be a hell of an athlete there. Same thing in Alabama. But I just think, again, unproven, not really done anything. And then you got Tank over here. He is. So I thought about kind of going these two together, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't pull the trigger on him. I had to have my receivers. So I wasn't able to keep Tank. But one thing I do like about Tank is the fact that here's another 1,000-yard running back, and I expect nothing different from him this season. And he's doing it with. He's doing it with a shitty offensive line. I'm not trying to bash him. I'm sure they've had some great games and stuff, but they've just kind of pieced this stuff together. And if Tank, if he would have had some of, like, I hate to go back to Georgia, but if he had Georgia's offensive line or if he had Alabama's offensive line, golly, this guy is not, you know what I'm saying? He's winning the Heisman, or he's a finalist. So I hate the fact he's not as as much of a dual threat with the receiving, but here's a guy that I think if you put on a better team or have a better offensive line, maybe some more weapons where he's not the only – I mean, we're talking loaded box game after game after game and still was able to get over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's why I like Tank is I just think he's a hell of a talent. And this is one of those guys I think, 4, 5, 6 years from now, we're watching him in the NFL and we're saying, why the hell did he not do better at Auburn? You know what I'm saying? Why you had him? That's like Alvin Kamara at Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? It's like
Right.
he was on our roster, and that's all we got with him. I think we look back and we say we realize just how great of an athlete Tank is.
All right, how about the $2 option, Shane? Big breakout potential here. Devon Achane, Texas A&M. I could be wrong about this, but I think of all the running backs returning, he's got the highest yards per carry average in the SEC, right around 7 yards per carry. And, this is a guy that's carried it over 100 times. So huge breakout player, maybe the fastest running back in the SEC. Hell of a value there at $2. And then a wild card option, Shane, because we've not seen him in the SEC, but he's got a lot of motivation coming to Ole Miss to prove that he can make it in the NFL by showing it that he can do it in college football's highest level. Zach Evans, the transfer from TCU, the former 5-star that, he had that wild recruitment, signed with Georgia, got out of Georgia.
Yep.
Now he's found his way back to the SEC. So of these running backs, I think you've already made your case. Who are you going with? You going with Tank?
You would think, because I was singing his praises, but buddy, I'm on a budget and I had to remove Tank. So when I added Tillman, I had to put Tank back on. I mean, that you ever seen them decisions made? Like you see them pictures are in the grocery store and there's like, baby food. And then all of a sudden there's like, it's sitting in the aisle where all the beer was at. And it's like, oh, decisions were made today. That's what happened here. I was crying the whole time, but I had to put Tank back on the shelf. And I'm taking home Devon. I think here's a guy that has never had the opportunity to be the star, right, even though he is a freak athlete. You said he may be the fastest, Mike. He is the fastest. I mean, this is a guy that was clocked, Mike, at 22 miles an hour. You do that in my neighborhood, you're getting a ticket. You know what I'm saying? They're putting speed bumps up the next week. So if he comes to my neighborhood, this is a guy that can do it all. And the reason I like him on my team is because of the way I want a complete roster. Right. I need a utility knife. I need somebody that's a human joystick every time he gets the football. This is a guy you can never. You can't bottle him up, and if the box isn't loaded, man, I'm telling you what, I'm throwing it out on the outside. I mean, this guy's going to be doing a lot of. They're going to look back. This is. I know I'm rambling, Mike, but I get so excited about this guy because I think this is your guy that could win a Heisman. And the fact that he's sitting here at $2, you want to talk about an absolute bargain. That's your bargain. So welcome to Team Shane, brother.
Yeah, and that's another one, Shane. While we were sitting here talking, I almost flipped him and put him on my squad, but I'm saving up for the tight end. So I'm going Zach Evans, $1 man down here at Ole Miss. It's kind of, I'm taking a huge swing on potential, but I just got so much faith in Lane Kiffin's offense. Zach Evans this spring seemed like a man on a mission. And believe it or not, man, those Ole Miss Rebels, they always rank right up there among top SEC leading rushers. So they don't just throw the ball there in Ole Miss. So I think Zach Evans is going to have a huge year for Ole Miss. Give me the $1 man on the docket here. Now, so that means we're down to our final position here, Shane. Tight ends. And kind of like you said, making this list, we are so loaded at the tight end position here in the SEC. We got the nation's best tight end, Brock Bowers.
Yep.
He's our $5 man. No surprise. He tore it up as a true freshman. And then here's another wild card, Shane. Michael Trigg, the transfer from Southern Cal. I put out the video of him the other day just tearing through the Southern Cal defense. He looked like just such a beast there in the Ole Miss spring game. I think he's going to be one of the biggest breakout candidates in the SEC. Jaheim Bell, Shane, if they finally use him at South Carolina, he could be, an all SEC type player. for the Gamecocks. So he's our $3 option. And then again, here's a little bit of a wild card, the $2 option, but we all know the name. Arik Gilbert, back in action, caught multiple touchdowns, Shane, in the Georgia spring game. Hell, he may be the $5 man in reality. You know, I don't want to take anything away from Brock, but you can make the case for either one being the better tight end based on, you know, all the potential Gilbert has. And then again, this is maybe the steal of the whole thing here. $1 man, John Samuel Shanker from Auburn. He led the team in receptions, receiving yards. He's already broken all the records at Auburn, Shay. He's got another year playing. So, so many good tight ends in the SEC. But where are you going with your last dollars here?
Well, I think you're hit the nail on the head. There's so much talent at this position, and you think about years past. There's been some droughts, brother, and you're seeing an emphasis here and getting these big-bodied guys, some athletes on the outside that can do it all. I love the tight end positions, one of my favorite. And you know, it's funny, you're going through Georgia. Georgia probably has the top 5 tight ends. You probably could have just picked any of those. And when you first did this list, brother, my eyes went straight to the top right. And at the top right, as you're looking at this list, it went straight to Brock Bowers. Here's a guy that was an absolute machine last year. I think he'll be an absolute machine this year. His soft hands, he's built perfect for this Georgia offense. And I think about Georgia, it reminds me a lot of those old Belichick days. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they designed it this way, but you remember when they had and. Forget the jokes and stuff like that, but the Aaron Hernandez and Gronkowski and those guys out there, it was like we just needed a couple plays from the wide receivers because these tight ends are going to take over. I think it's the same thing with the Georgia Bulldogs. And unfortunately, even though Brock was my first pick, I cannot afford him anymore, so I'm going to have to put him back. But I'm going to stay with the roster, and I'm going to take a chance on that wild card. Give me Gilbert, baby. Here's a guy, you know, obviously I followed him since he was in high school. I think everybody did. You're talking the top recruit out of Georgia, 5 overall, number 1 tight end. He promised he's going to come to Tennessee, I think 5 or 6 times. Never worked out. You know what I'm saying? Didn't work out in LSU. But here's a guy that is just an absolute freak athlete. He's big-bodied, 6'5", 250 pounds. I think he showed up at camp 300 pounds, but he pulled a Shane, and he did a 100-day challenge when spring hit. And what did he do? He went out there and got a couple of TDs, man, and he was a man among boys out there. And I think if he continues that momentum, this is a guy that's easily playing in the NFL. This is a guy that's going to quickly move up all the list. I'm not saying he's better than Bowers, but, you know, the pressure's off, and he's not. I mean, when he was in LSU, they knew him. Every time Gilbert was on the field, they knew it. Now they can't afford to double team him and put a linebacker on him. You know what I'm saying? It's just this is a kid that's really going to shine this year for the Georgia Bulldogs. So, and I'm out of money, so my $2, I'm going with my boy Gilbert.
Yeah, and you assembled a hell of a team, Shane, but I kind of had to structure mine because I was saving my $4 for the man Michael Trigg here at Ole Miss. Man among boys, Kiffin has already called him, and he just got to Ole Miss. He's already tearing it up down there in Oxford, so that's who I'm going with. And, you know, I can already see you got a lot of big names on your list, Shane, and I'm taking some swings with some unknowns. So I am ready for people to tear apart my list and go with Cousin Shane. But let's recap real quick. I got KJ Jefferson, Keyshawn Butte, Evan Stewart, Zach Evans, Michael Trigg. Cousin Shane's got Will Levis, Keyshawn Butte, Cedric Tillman, Devon Achane, and Arik Gilbert. So, hey, we'll throw this out there. Well, I'm very eager to see who people think got the better team there. And like I said, man, it'd be great if everybody give us their picks. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of this thing. They try to build their best team as well, and I think we could have a lot of fun with this.
Mike, you got a chance here. We can say, whoops, we forgot we were recording, and you can just we could go in together now that you saw my team and just take credit for it if you'd like. I mean, upon further review, I think clearly I've got the better team here. But one thing I like about your team is you took some chances, and that's not one thing I didn't want to do. You know, I know Will's a little bit of a gamble at quarterback, but I'm confident in my receivers. I'm confident in my running back. The only wild, is Gilbert. But again, we're talking a tight end position here that it's not going to be hard to shine down there in Athens. So, yeah, you took one of those high risk. Like, I took lower floor. You ever seen that? And if you're looking at fantasy football, they say, hey, this guy's got a high ceiling, but he's got a low floor. I think that's what you took. You took a lot of guys that got high ceilings. They got potential to be breakout players, but they've also got some duds possibilities. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the only difference. And if you're a gambling man, which we are, maybe you go with Mike's team, but let's be honest. I'm just trying to be nice.
Yeah, I will say this.
Because clearly I won.
I will say this, Shane. You've got some stars all around the quarterback, but while Will Levis is throwing those interceptions, that's not going to help your team out any when you don't possess the football. You know what?
Oh, I swear to God, if I got to cut him, I will. I will do it in a heartbeat. I'll bring up one of these guys you left off the list here. Give me 15, AR-15. Yeah, that's who I want. Just if I got to swap them out, that's my sub.
Well, hey, brother, I think this was a great idea. I hope it goes over well on the social medias and give us, all these fans something to get on each other. I mean, that's all Twitter is fans, fighting with one another. And I love it, man. I love the passion of these great SEC fans. But you got anything else before we hop off the line?
No, this was fun, man. I really appreciated it. It drove me nuts, but it was also good at work when it's slow. It gave me something to think about. So this was an awesome little deal, brother, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Like I said, I'm going to keep y'all posted with the journey. Don't forget to get on our YouTube channel, That SEC Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to that thing, and anytime we get sent out a video, you'll be notified.
All right, buddy. Well, like I said, good luck with the reviews on your team. We'll see how that goes. Mm-hmm. We wish you luck on your journey, Shane. 100-day countdown. Cannot wait to see what comes of it. And it fires me up all that more because it's just more reason to celebrate the upcoming college football season, so that once we know the results on the field, we know that I picked a hell of a lot better team than you did, buddy. But hey, that's all I got.
What's the best part about going on a diet 3 days from now?
What's that?
All the food I'm going to eat in the next 3 days. I got it all planned out. I'm like, man, we got to get a calzone in here. We got to hit my Chinese restaurant. I guess we got to get over there at El Chorritos and knock out some of. It's like I got my bucket list that I'm knocking out here before the diet starts. But no, I'm joking. But I do want to get all that going. But I'll keep y'all going. I'll keep you posted. And honestly, it's more for me. And that way, if I'm putting these videos out, it feels like I owe you guys something, and I think that would help me. So it's more about me than it is y'all. You don't have to participate, but any support you want to throw out, a retweet or something like that, man, it means a lot, and I appreciate everybody because we got a lot of great fans out there, Mike. A lot of people. I was out last week dealing with some family stuff. I don't know if you touched on it too much, but. We had a close call with a loved one, and she pulled through, and everything's good. So I just appreciate all the kind words, and love y'all, and look forward to a hell of an off season, and definitely an awesome regular season, brother.
Absolutely, Shane. Well, I think that's a perfect way to end this show, and we do appreciate each and every one of you if they continue to check us out, no matter how you do it. Again, if you made it this far, give us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app or on Spotify. We'll take it any way you want to give it to us, but that's going to do it, brother. So I appreciate you as always. Appreciate everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols. Man, this team is loaded.